Two balls and a strike to count on Taylor. Reyes fires, swinging a drive, deep left field. This is one back. Walk the ball.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com, part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined today by Daniel Starkand. He's back, taking a break from some Lakers coverage. Daniel, give me the emotional health update. We doing all right over there?
Depressing times over here, unfortunately. The Dodgers were supposed to be the ones that were supposed to make us happy, and it's been all downhill ever since. So rough times, but looking forward to some better times ahead.
Yeah, well, let's talk about Trea Turner. That's the topic of conversation today. And we're sort of in a series of videos that we're going to be putting out over the next couple of days, talking about qualifying offers and looking at the guys that the Dodgers are potentially going to extend a qualifying offer to. We couldn't do a whole video on, are the Dodgers going to extend a qualifying offer to Trea Turner? Because 1,000% they will. 1,000% he is going to say no to that. He is going to get more money than the $19 million per year, and he's going to get about a bunch more years. We'll put it that way. So let me phrase it with, how does the Trea Turner situation play out? Is there any chance in your mind, Daniel, that the Dodgers can come to an agreement with Trea Turner during this exclusive rights negotiating period for 5 days they have? Or do you think this is going to be a long, drawn-out process over the next few months?
I definitely don't think he's going to get signed in the next week. I think this is going to be a situation of he's going to the highest bidder pretty much. I think there should be a lot of interest in him. He's a really good player coming off arguably, one of his best seasons. So I think it's gonna be a long, drawn out process. It's gonna be whoever offers him the most money in the end. I think the Dodgers will be in the mix. Obviously, we know they need a shortstop right now, but I just, unfortunately, as much as I'd like to keep Trea, I just don't see the Dodgers being the team that bids the most for him when it comes to, years, AAV, all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, look, the numbers we know, he was 12th in Major League Baseball in wins above replacement, according to FanGraphs, 6.3 wins above replacement, hit just under 300, OPS over 800, 100 RBIs, 101 runs, 27 stolen bases, 21 home runs. Like, we know the numbers. Sometimes with Trea Turner, he more than passes the eye test. Sometimes with Trea Turner, he doesn't pass the eye test on some of those numbers, which is what makes him interesting. Is Trea Turner at the top of your shortstop list, Daniel? You don't strike me as a Carlos Correa guy. And if you're not a Correa guy, Bogarts, Swanson, It feels like I've got Trea at the top of my list, despite some concerns about how he ages and that kind of thing. Is Trea at the top for you?
Yeah, I think Trea's at the top. I think there's an argument that Correa is a better player, but I think with the history, it just doesn't make any sense for the Dodgers. And I also think he's got more of an injury history than Trea. Like, Trea's been on the field more. So even if Correa's maybe a slightly better player, the fact that he's on the field less and his history with the Dodgers, I think if you're talking about this from strictly Dodgers perspective, Trea is far and away the best option here at shortstops.
Yeah, and I like the way you put it, because I've said the same thing. Correa, like, I would much rather have Correa the player in a vacuum over the next 7 years, because despite the injury concerns, he's not as dependent upon a skill like speed as Trea Turner is. Obviously, defensively, you're getting more with Correa, so he probably is a better fit defensively for the Dodgers. And we'll have tons of time to debate Correa versus Trea Turner. Well, have you thought about numbers? I mean, like, I've thrown out like something like 5 years, $200 million for Trea Turner. I would be interested in, because the years that concern me with Trea Turner are years 6 and 7 and 8 and 9. And so if I have to pay $40 million a year, but I get him for 5 years, I would be open to that. We know that lines up with the way the Dodgers have structured some deals in the past, like the Trevor Bauer deal, for example. Like, is that a number you'd be comfortable? Would you feel better about 7 years, tacking on like 7 years, $230 million? So it's about, an additional 2 years, $30 million at the end of that. Like, where would you land on contracts?
I think I'd be very comfortable with either of the ones you just said, and I think the Dodgers would too. The thing is, I think Trea's probably looking for, the longest term deal possible. He's 29, going to be 30 in the middle of next season. So if he's signing a 5-year deal and then hitting, the market again at 35, chances are he's not going to get anywhere close to that money, which I think the higher AAV kind of makes up for that a little. But at the same time, as we've seen in the past, like, these guys want as many years as possible, as many total guaranteed dollars as possible. Most of them don't have a desire to hit free agency again. They want to go to one place where they can stay there. We've seen it, Bryce Harper, 13 years, Mookie, 12 years, Manny Machado, 10 years, on and on and on. Lindor. These guys want as much money, as much guaranteed money as possible. And if the AAV is a little less because of that, they're okay with that. And that's why we've seen the Dodgers pass on a lot of these big name free agents that they've been linked to. I feel like the Dodgers come up in the discussions for every big name free agent, but the Dodgers like those, shorter term deals. Even when looking at Freddie Freeman, that was only 6 years. Like, he's a little older, but at the same time, it's a little shorter term to the point where you're not paying a guy $30 million when he's 40 years old. So, I think the Dodgers will try to pitch Trey on a shorter term, high AAV deal, just because of the concerns that you laid out as far as how he'll age with his speed and everything. I just think at the end of the day, Trey's probably just going to go for the most total money he could get.
Yeah, The Athletic has projected 8 years, $264 million. So if you compare that to my 200, you're basically getting 3 years at $20 million per, which for him at those ages is probably good, but those are kind of the fearful years that I think, so could you do 7 at 235? And then it's, who knows? We'll see. Like all of these, Corey Seager had one team that was willing to go crazy for him, but then Correa, who we said, we liked, I don't think his stock has dipped at all since last offseason, and he couldn't find a long-term deal. So one thing that's interesting about free agency is you figure out how the league actually feels about these guys. And a guy like Trea Turner will be really interesting. How does the league feel? Are they concerned about the speed? Are they concerned about the defense? Are they concerned about the longevity? Because it's possible he signs a $300 million contract in 2 weeks. It's also possible that we're sitting here 3 months from now and the market hasn't really moved, and maybe they start to rethink some things. So,
and as we've seen with the Dodgers, they like to wait and let that play out. So if something like that ends up happening, where all the other shortstops, find a home, and now there's not really teams looking for a shortstop, and now maybe Trey's interested in that short-term deal, the Dodgers, will be waiting in the wings exactly for that.
Yep, absolutely. Well, let us know what you think in the comments below. Again, we know it's pretty much a certainty that Trea Turner is going to receive a qualifying offer. It's a certainty he's going to reject it. It's a certainty he's going to hit free agency. I think we both agree. But from there, a lot of uncertainty. So let us know what you think in the comments below. That's Daniel Starkand. My name is Jeff Spiegel. As always, we appreciate you joining us here at DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com, part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. As always, make sure you check us out on social media, DodgerBlue1958. Subscribe, ring the notification bell here. We will have content for you throughout the week, every week throughout the offseason. As we look ahead, finally, to next season, we can wipe away and flush down the toilet this season and the postseason disappointment that was. Again, thanks for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your day. Go Dodgers.